Welcome to the Nebraska Hawk's Nest. These guys are brave! They're Hawkeyes, living in enemy territory. Listen, these guys are way past their prime, but they're still Hawkeyes! They're spreading the Hawkeye hype to all of Nebraska. The frost advisory is canceled! Corn Huskers? More like corn suckers. Are you ready for this podcast? Let's go Hawks!
All right, welcome back to the Nebraska Hawk's Nest. Make sure to give us a like and subscribe. We're striving to be the #1 podcast in the whole state of Nebraska, and how cool would that be if it was a Hawkeye one? We're joined today by NHN contributor Matt Meyer. What's going on, brother?
Hey, man, not too much. Just ready for a podcast, I guess. And I wanted to say, no matter how many times I see that video, I'm still fired up every time I see it. It's awesome.
Hell yeah, man. I get fired up every time, too. That never gets old. Today, we're going to talk about a few different things. A lot of news for a slow time in sports right now. There's like literally nothing on, like the NBA playoffs, which I don't think any of us watch that very much. And I think that's about it. College baseball's over now. Professional baseball's still going. So we got some college football news coming out. The name, image, and likeness has been a huge topic, and that is a major monument in college sports. So we absolutely had to talk about that. And we want to get everyone's thoughts too. So make sure to comment on the interview, reach out to us, post on the pages. And we want to hear what everyone's thoughts are. And just because our thoughts are a certain way doesn't mean that yours aren't valid. We want to hear what you guys have to say too. So one big thing that Matt and I were wanting to talk about here was a new graphic that came out by Boomer Sports at Boomer Sports. They release a lot of these different rating systems all the time, and how much credibility is behind it, I don't know. They're pretty well known. So this is a thing that Matt and I were really, got us talking, and we knew that college football fans out there were going to be, up in arms about a lot of this stuff. And for the guys on the podcast that are just listening on the radio, we're going to try to be as descriptive as possible. We're pulling up a graphic here right now. The current tiers of college football by Big Game Boomer. Now, I want to start off at the first line, Matt. We got Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State, those three. I don't really have any problem with those three. What are your thoughts on that?
It's tough to argue with those, especially Alabama and Clemson. I mean, they're always at the top, and Ohio State's always in the conversation, so no issue as well.
Oh, and we have Dabo Sweeney now. I don't know if you heard, he made comments like about a year ago that he said if college athletes are ever paid, he was going to quit coaching. Uh-oh. So everyone's like, you got to turn in your resignation now? Like,
see you later, Dabo.
Yeah, see you later, dude. That guy's not leaving. He's just going to eat crow and move on and not talk about it too much. So this next line, tier 2, I have a major issue with, and I'm going to read those off. We got the very first one, Boise State, Georgia, LSU, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, and Oregon. Now, when I look at that, my first thing that jumps out at me right away is Boise State. How in the hell is Boise State ranked in your second tier of college football, playing in the Mountain West Conference, and not really relevant for quite a while now? Granted, they're a solid program, but tier 2, that's what really jumps out at me. I'm pretty okay with everything else that's in there. What are your thoughts on that one, Matt?
I would agree that Boise State, I mean, they were complaining, 4, 5, maybe even 6 years ago when they didn't make it into the college football playoffs. And since that 1 year, which was a long time ago already, they have done nothing to justify Tier 2. So I don't know what they were thinking there. That's a pretty big reach, in my opinion. Probably the biggest one on this whole entire page.
I'm wondering if like the guys at Big Game Boomer are like Boise State grads or something, because that's insane to me. And like you said, though, too, you're like, hey, if you want to be considered with the big boys, you need to play some of the big boys.
Play some games.
Yeah, and you're in the Mountain West, so you got good competition. There's some good teams there. Now I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit too. And if you're Boise State fan, you're sitting here saying, okay, well, we tried to join the Big 12 conference. They wouldn't let us in. And we try to schedule big name games and nobody wants to play us because it's a lose-lose for whoever you play. So, where Boise State is, I get it. But I think that teams like Boise State, this new 12-team expanded playoff is going to really benefit guys like that, guys like Coastal Carolina that, have a great regular season. UCF back in the day when old Frosty was there, they'd get a chance to make some noise in that playoff. So,
Right.
Boise State.
Even with that devil's advocate statement, you almost have to win every game of your conference to justify it. I mean, you can play that card if you want, but it's still then win every game, and you haven't done that in the last 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say if you would have brought this up after the Oklahoma Fiesta Bowl championship, I wouldn't have nearly the problem with it that I do now. I still would have, because one good year doesn't really shouldn't get you into that tier. But that was a great year and a great season and a huge victory. I think it takes multiple great seasons and a standard of consistency to be able to get into these different tiers. And these tiers are real. If you're like, hey guys, like you're talking about this like it's gospel, it's pretty legit. When you look at recruiting, it's there is a set tier of what guys go to what schools. So this is a real thing. It actually, exists. It may be in our minds and not on paper, but that doesn't make it any less real.
That's
so
relevant.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to go to tier 3.
Oh, I'm not done with tier 2 yet.
Oh, all right. Sorry, man.
I struggle a little bit with Oregon. They have the name and Nike behind it, but they haven't done anything in the last 5 years. Since their coach left and went to the NFL and have this new one. And I know Chip Kelly's back in the West, but not at Oregon.
Yeah.
I mean, since he left, I don't think they're a tier 2 team.
Mario Cristobal, he's definitely got them on the right track, but no, they haven't been that good for quite a while. That's a great
getting
point.
Better, but this is supposed to be current times. I don't feel that they're currently tier 2. They may get there here in the next couple of years if he keeps going in the track they're on, but
yeah,
it's a struggle for me. The rest of them I completely understand and I'm good with, though.
I agree with the Oregon one. That's a really good point. Kind of skipped over that. And plus, the Pac-12, I would almost say that the Mountain West could give them a run for their money for being a better conference. Like the Pac-12's terrible right now.
Yeah, they have some ups and downs in that conference. They are struggling to get anywhere. USC has been good in the past, and has built a name for itself. But I mean, as of currently in the last 5-6 years, they've been nothing.
Not really. I mean, not for like USC standards. They haven't been, but
right. I can't say nothing. They've been decent.
Yeah.
A rightful tier 3, I believe. With seeing them in there. But.
Yeah, but that was a great point with Oregon. I like that you said that. And now we're going to go to tier 3 here. I'm going to read all these off for all of our podcasters out there. Got Auburn, Cincinnati, Florida, the Iowa Hawkeyes, Ames Community College, a.k.a. Iowa State University, University of Miami, North Carolina, Northwestern, Oklahoma State, Wisconsin, West Virginia, Washington, Utah, USC, UCF, Texas A&M, and Penn State. I bet Penn State's pissed off about being on that tier 3. So I
Not
want to get.
wrong though.
I don't think so
What
either.
have they done? I mean, since what was their good running back that's in the NFL?
Oh, geez, was it
Drawing a blank.
Rashawn Salam? No, is that
No,
right?
just he's Saquon Barkley.
Oh, Curtis Enos. Oh, yeah, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So ever since him, they haven't done anything. They've not been good. Especially this last couple of years, they've not been very good. So they're in the right tier.
Yeah.
Whether they're mad about it or not. I mean, if they want to be in the next tier up, then they need to be in the national championship talk more than once every 15 years.
Yeah, and I would say they're definitely sitting toward the top of tier 3.
Right.
When I'm looking at this now, I went, what? When I saw Iowa State. Okay. Iowa State had a great year last year.
Yep.
They played a way overrated Oregon team in the Fiesta Bowl. And granted, again, it's the Fiesta Bowl, Pac-12 champion. The Pac-12 sucks, but still, granted, you made it to the Fiesta Bowl. You had a good year. You may have lost to Louisiana Lafayette at the beginning of the year, but you got it. You got
Don't talk about that.
Yeah, we're not supposed to talk
forget about that game.
Yeah, and I thought when that game happened, I'm like, okay, they're gonna stink this year, and but I would
turned
say
it around, and they righted the ship, but and then their big win over Oklahoma was very early in the scene, where their quarterback was very young and still a true freshman.
Yeah, and
then they ended up getting them by quite a bit in the Big 12 championship game. So I don't know that. I mean, they are a lot better than they've been in the past. Tons better. Matt Campbell's a great coach and has them definitely trending up. But to move them to tier 3 after 1 year, I don't know that they should. Maybe we should have waited till after this year and then talk about going from 4 to 3.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think that they're tier 4. They're historically one of the worst college football programs in the country. I'm not saying that to poke fun and be a jerk. If you look at the overall records, Iowa State is one of the historical worst programs in the country, and you have one good season. I would say even great season. I mean, you made it to a top tier,
a good bowl.
Yeah, a great
really
bowl.
Yeah,
and you won.
How many bowls have they actually made in the past 10 years?
I mean, not a lot. I know that was their first.
3? I guess I don't know what the actual number is, but
yeah, this is like the first New Year's Bowl they've ever been in, and they won convincingly too. But one good year, that would be like us saying the year after we won the Orange Bowl or the year after we made it to the Rose Bowl that we're tier 2 or we're tier 1. It's just not the case.
You got to prove that year over year.
Another one I have a huge issue with in there is Central Florida. Again, they had one good year. You don't play anybody. If they would continue to have good years like that when they won their mythical national championship, which I still think is awesome. They even put it on their press box, so that means it's real.
That's awesome.
I have major issues with them. And then Miami. Miami's been absolute garbage for a really long time. Why in the hell would they be tier 3? That's a tier 4 at best. They've been awful.
The only thing I can think of is they're trying to pull from their history, but then again, it's current tiers. Current, not history tiers. If that was the case, I know some schools at the bottom of the list would think they're at tier 1.
Well, yeah, and we don't want to talk out of both sides of our mouth because we both said it's got to be kind of present, but it is a body of work as well. One good year or one bad year shouldn't move you from one tier to the next. And then, the other one that I had a couple other ones like Cincinnati. Like, what the hell? Like, really?
Right. They've been good as of late, but they haven't been consistently good.
Exactly. And then Mac Brown at North Carolina. Like, North Carolina hasn't been anything. And they had like a pretty good year last year. And you want to bump them up? Like, that doesn't make any sense either. So, like, this tier 3, there's a lot of holes in it. What's the one that jumps out to you the most?
In tier 3?
Yeah.
I would say Iowa State, which we touched on, like we talked about.
Yeah.
UCF, to me, is almost as big as Iowa State and UCF is the most. But you're right on North Carolina and Miami. They're both. I don't know. I'm struggling to think of Oklahoma State. I know they have their ups and downs. I guess I just don't know that they're quite there.
They're an 8 to 9 win team almost every single season.
Yeah,
and
so they're probably deserving than that. I guess I didn't realize they don't talk about them very much, so it's hard to. I guess I didn't realize they had won that many.
They never break through, and they don't beat Oklahoma.
Right.
So I think they're pretty well, positioned at that tier. The one where I thought maybe someone should have been bumped up would be potentially Wisconsin, and because if you look at that tier 2, there's not a lot of teams with any recent national championships on there at all.
That's true.
Wisconsin has won a ton of Big Ten championships, an absolute ton of Rose Bowls, and
yeah, there was a while there they were going, not that long ago, they were going every year to the Rose Bowl. I mean, like 3 or 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
So I could agree with that point as well, especially if you've got Oregon up there but not Wisconsin. I'm not buying it.
It felt real good to put a spanking on Wisconsin last year, but to be honest with you, like they have
got to be consistent.
Yeah, they've owned us, and they have had a lot more consistent success at a higher level than we have. So I know Hawkeye fans don't want to hear that, but it's a fact. Like Wisconsin has just been more successful than we have, and they've done it at a way higher rate.
Right. If you don't want to own up to it, then we need to start beating Wisconsin more than once every 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
All
right. I'm hearing a little echo on that end. Did you switch something on your speaker?
No, I did not.
That's weird. You got like a ghost in there or something. Going
an old house.
we're gonna float down an old Iowa farmhouse. Nothing but
that's right. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Hey, going down. I'm not gonna read off all the other tiers, but Indiana creeped up into that 4th tier. So if we're going off recent success, like some of these other ones are, it's like they're using inconsistent grading on a lot of these. I bet, down in tier 4, you got Michigan. I bet that pisses them off because they think they should.
Yeah, but I don't think
1.
it's wrong. I mean, they get a lot of really good recruits, but what have they done in the past 5, 6, 7 years, 10 years? Let's go back 10 years. What have they done?
Yeah, I would argue Michigan should be tier 3, maybe. Just, based off history and based off, they do usually win 8 or 9 games every single year. They just can't beat Ohio State or win a Big Ten championship. So and that's the measuring stick there. So people are like, oh, Jim Harbaugh's done a terrible job. He hasn't hit expectations at all. That's for sure. Because you got to beat Ohio State, but he wins 8 to 9 games almost every single year. They were terrible last year. But a lot of teams handled the pandemic terribly. Michigan was one of the worst, along with Penn State.
I could agree with you on them moving up a tier just because the 8 or 9 wins recently with Harbaugh. So I mean, they've had the similar seasons to us in the last 5 years, really. If you look at the win totals.
Yeah. So I would argue they could be a tier 3 team. One that jumps out at me a ton is UCLA. They're awful, and they've been awful for a really long time. I don't know how they're not toward the bottom. That bottom tier is basement dwellers. Like we got, Arizona at the bottom, Oregon State, Kansas, Illinois, Rutgers, Miami of Ohio, Syracuse, Arkansas. We got some. I'm surprised, Northern Illinois really took a dip. They were really a strong program for a long time, and things have gone south for them. But if one thing that I know just is gonna just piss off Husker Nation is they're floating around in that 1, 2, 3, 4. I gotta count the tiers are down 5. So low. Yeah, I gotta count them. They're down so low. Nebraska's in tier 5. Right
next to the University of Ohio.
Yeah, like the Husker fans, how far have you fallen? Like that really has got to piss them off. There are 2 full tiers below Iowa, and the thing I got to be honest with you is I agree with where they're at on that one. You win 4 or 5 games every year, you're a tier 5. Like you're down there. Like you deserve to be there. I would argue maybe Temple should be a little higher. They've had some good seasons, and they've been a real launching pad for up and coming coaches like Matt Rule, the Carolina Panthers coach. He came from Temple, went to Baylor. And then the current Miami coach, who is, I can see his face right now, and his name is drawn a blank on me right now. He was at Temple. A lot of really good coaches have, came through there. So
I'm kind of shocked at Georgia Tech, because we played them 10 years ago, 11 years ago in the Orange Bowl, and they haven't had that bad a season. Like, you got Michigan in Tier 4, and you don't have Georgia Tech at Tier 4. You had them down to Tier 5. I could see them being a Tier 4 pretty easy. I mean, they're never in the headlines. They're never – and they're, in the South, so all of the talking points are not Georgia Tech most of the time.
Yeah, so they've dropped a lot lately. They got a new coach now, and they were doing that the option, the speed option, and running the hell out of that. And I mean, that
wishbone.
Yeah, and it just doesn't. To me, that is not sustained success. Like I think they got captured lightning in a bottle with it and did about as well as they were going to do for a while. And so they've gone a completely different direction with the coach there, and whole new offense. So it's going to take him a few years. Like, if you're switching to an option or from an option, you got to get completely new personnel and start over from scratch. So one other one I was surprised by too, and I know that they didn't really have a great year last year, was Duke. They've had some good seasons. Like, they've been competitive. They have been.
And they got a good history too of winning. They just had a lull in there for a while. Yeah,
like they sucked forever, and then when they got again, I'm doing terrible with these guys' names. It's like you put me on the spot and I can't freaking remember. But
I can't remember anybody's name anyways. So they put me on the spot, it's worse.
The current coach right now has done a really good job. They've had a little bit of a downslide, but I would definitely at least bump Duke up one spot. And if you look at Tier 5, you got Florida State sitting in there. Like, wow, that's pretty bad. I think that's a little extreme. They won a national championship not that long ago.
Right.
They've stunk lately, but there's a lot of
probably due to the coaching change, though. I mean, and how long has Timbo been at? Where is he at now? He's in Texas. I'm drawing another name blank.
Jimbo's at Texas A&M right now.
Texas A&M. I mean, they've only been average for the last 2-3 years.
And they had Willie Taggart for like a hot minute, and he was out of there now, and so it's just they haven't had much consistency. So I would
consistency they've dropped, but I can't see him being a Tier 5.
And then you see Tennessee down there too. Like, that's got to piss their fans off. It's like, Tier 5 is like those old '90s teams that were dominant, and now it's just like
that got a lot of TV love and went to special bowl games because of their TV contracts, and now they're now it's fair and more consistent across the board, and they've slipped. They haven't adjusted.
Yeah, now everybody's on TV, and you don't have that amazing, the SEC's on TV every single week, or the Big Eight, for which I don't understand, having that great TV contract, and so all the guys are like, I want to go to Nebraska or Oklahoma, and
that Big Eight commissioner should have been paid a lot of money for making that contract.
Yeah, he negotiated one hell of a TV deal.
Hell of a TV deal.
Yeah, so everyone's like, why is and you look at Nebraska and Tennessee, a lot of parallels, like the playing field leveled big time with, everybody's on TV now. And, once the TV contracts started going like gangbusters, you notice right around that time in the late 90s, early 2000s, that's when, you saw Tennessee and Nebraska start to take a dip. And it's like, they just keep firing and rifling through coaches and athletic directors left and right.
It does not help.
No, you got to eventually stick with somebody and see if they're going to give you a shot. But no, I thought that list was super interesting. It's great debate. You might be listening and think we're full of crap and we don't know what the hell we're talking about. We can't think of a damn coaching name to save our lives right now. So, but that's, we're going to get better. It's the first time we've done this one. So, but that was a lot of fun. I also wanted to talk to you too about the name, image, and likeness that has just come up and really is official now. We got like Jordan Bohannon going to like fireworks stands, doing signings and stuff like that.
Yeah. He didn't take him long to get in the mix.
There's guys like Spencer Rattler. Oklahoma has his own like logo for his name, like LeBron James or Michael Jordan. Like, some of these college guys are already millionaires today because they have endorsement deals
Sure.
that I know Master P, the old rapper from back when we were in high school, his son, I can't remember where he plays, but he signed an endorsement deal for $2 million today. Like, these guys it's going to be interesting.
It's insane.
We're not going to see the effects of this for probably, I would say, at least a few more years. And I don't know that this is great for college football, but I don't know that it's not. It's one of those things like religion or politics. I feel like I hear arguments on both sides of it. And after I hear an argument, I'm like, God, you have a good point. I totally understand what you're saying. But at the end of the day, I think it's a good thing. I think it needs to be heavily regulated. And I almost feel like there should be somewhat of a cap on it. But again, like, putting a cap on it right there, like that's a little bit of socialism coming into play. So, at that point, it's just like, if they're allowed to profit off their name, image, and likeness, do we limit that? And could it help the college game? Because are a lot of these guys going to stick around for their full college career because they're making enough money that they're not desperate to go to the NFL to get that NFL contract? That part of it, I think, is great. What are your thoughts on all of that, Matt?
I've been on both sides of the fence. I mean, I get it's their name, it's their image. But on the other hand, if the University of whatever wouldn't have signed them and brought them in and let them play in front of their conference's TV contracts and in their conference's TV stations and ESPN, if all of that wouldn't have happened, nobody would even know who they were.
Yeah.
So I see that side of it, and they're also getting the free education. They're getting free food that taxpayers of each state are paying for. So are we going to take, if they sign a $2 million deal, they obviously don't need free college anymore. They can clearly pay for it. So are they pulling their scholarship and they're paying for it?
Yeah.
And that's probably not the case, but you kind of wonder where that's going to go. And then also, if this isn't well regulated, it's going to get out of control, and who knows where it's going to end up. And it is going to be bad for the sport, and I don't want to see that happen, especially to college football.
Yeah, you can't really tell what's going to happen at this point. We got to just sit back and watch. But I do think they've completely devalued a college education in this whole thing, because they flat out said the players just don't care. They want to make money, they want to get paid, and the fact that you're getting sometimes $150,000 worth of tuition for free, you're not going to be in debt having to pay student loans every month, and free food, free room and board, and and the opportunity to play on a platform in front of in the whole nation. Like, that's priceless. And honestly, anyone that's gone to college or played college sports, that is a once in a lifetime experience that can't be matched. You can't put a price tag on it. So that stuff is super important. Right. Yeah. And, even you ask pros that have played the game forever, college sports, college football, college basketball, they're the greatest sports on the planet. I mean, I feel like with the pageantry and the history and the depth, I think, in my opinion, they blow pro sports out of the water. But those guys are wanting to, cash in, and I think they should be able to a certain extent, because again, if you can sign a bunch of autographs and make some money off of it, more power to you. If you can go to a fireworks stand or a sandwich shop and hang out for the day and, make $300 or $400, why the hell not? Like, you should be able to do that. Yeah. So I think
if you're signing a $2 million deal, though, go pro if you're that good.
I think that
that's my thoughts on it. If you're that good if somebody isn't going to endorse you and you're that good, you can get $2 million as a college athlete. Go pro.
Yeah. And I think a lot of these companies that are signing these guys, and we're going to see a lot more of it because this is just brand new, but a lot of these companies are going to be like, a few years from now, I think we're going to see a dip in it because they're not going to see a return on their investment. Oh, we just gave this kid $2 million. He completely flopped. And, we jumped the gun on this, and
too. Exactly.
We got no return for it. But I guess you have that time in the pros too, that, sign a guy that, might flop in the pros too. But I feel like it's a little safer investment once they've made it to the pros. You're just taking a guy that, like Master P's son, that rapper, he's at some small school. I can't really see how he's worth getting a $2 million endorsement contract, but he is apparently because he got it. Nobody's paying me $2 million to do anything.
Nobody's paying me $2 million to do anything either. Trust me. Far from it.
More power to him. All right, Matt. Well, we are going to wrap this up. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast that we did today. We're going to have a lot more to come. So like we said, make sure to hit the like and subscribe. Just so we can, get those numbers up there and get you guys more of these interviews. And again, we want to make Nebraska Hawks Nest the number one podcast in the whole state of Nebraska because, man, the Hawks are taking over.
Go Hawks, brother.
All right, buddy. Go Hawks.
See ya.